Hi, Misha here. It's another Blackbox video. And, well, you ever have one of those weeks or maybe even months that really goes past bad news or past everything going wrong? Or you just have to kind of wonder if it's all a joke. Well, it's kind of how my September has been, at least the first half. It was pretty rough, guys. And I'm not one for giving up, throwing in the towel, but a couple of times it came close. It isn't something I'm going to go into every detail about, but just a lot of stuff happened. Had a lot of things go wrong around the house, a lot of things break. But the big walloper came at the beginning of the month. And it has to do with my credit card processor, merchant service, and really the true face of gun control. Everyone's worried about Joe Biden or in the past Barack Obama passing legislation to limit guns. I don't think that's really how it's going to happen. Some people have pointed out they could limit the sale or ownership of bullets, cartridges, which is one way of effectively doing gun control. Another way, though, is maybe even more insidious. It doesn't even come from the government. It comes from the private sector, business, banking, corporations. Now, by now, if you've listened to many of these black box videos, you know my view on a lot of corporations. And that's kind of what happened here, and nearly caused me to lose my business. Let me explain. Back in 2010, my company, Ozark Bear Arms, started accepting credit cards as a form of payment. But it wasn't easy. There were not many merchant processors willing to A, sign up a gun company in 2010, or B, sign up an online company. And when you mix the two, let's just say we went through more than a few places before we found a place that would do the business. So we got set up and started taking cards in August of 2010. And from that time onward, have had no problems. Cards run through, no interruption in service. I've only had 3 chargeback claims in those 10 years. One of them was completely spurious. It was a guy who bought a gun right before Sandy Hook, and then I shipped it to him, and then his state, which was New York, essentially outlawed that gun. I'm sorry for him, that's the state he lives in. But instead of just asking to send it back or anything, he tried to keep the gun and also do a chargeback claiming this and that. Well, that one went to litigation, and we won it, no real contest. Another one was I shipped a M92 PV pistol, and anyone who's bought those remembers how Century used to ship them back in the day. You'd get one brand new mag and you'd get one surplus mag. And how Century phrased it was, well, you get it one mag and then one spare. And the 2 mags I shipped with the gun, one was new, one was used surplus, which is how Century shipped it to me. It worked fine, but it had a little finish wear, blah, blah, blah. Well, this one guy just did a chargeback for the mag. honestly, it wasn't worth even fighting. The cost of the chargeback itself was more than fighting him over mag. So that one I just let go. And actually, the third chargeback never really became a chargeback. There was a snafu when we moved at the end of 2014, and a Colt Series 70 didn't get shipped out to a customer as it should have. But that time, luckily, his card company called me saying they wanted to kind of avert the bad stuff, and we got it worked out. So never even went to the chargeback status. I gave him the option of either shipping the gun out overnight, because it was my fault that it didn't get shipped because it was just hectic times, or a full refund. He took the full refund. I refunded his card. C'est la vie. I'm only telling you this to show that I had an A+ track record with them. In fact, over the years, many other companies, as firearms, especially online firearms, have become more accepted over the years. More than a few credit card processing companies would contact me, email, phone, what have you, trying to get me to switch processors. And I said, I just, what I'm having works. Even if they offered a lower percentage. I was like, why rock the boat? This company works. They helped me the one time it needed to go to litigation. Just, yeah. Well, in August, around the middle of the month, I get a call from the credit card company, the processor. I was actually taking a shit. There you go. Have a nice image. So that was an interesting time, trying to talk about legal stuff while taking a crap. Although, if you're going to talk to American bank, American business, it's actually a pretty good place to do it. Just letting you know. And they said, look, the bank we were with, First National, we're no longer with. We're going with Wells-Fargo. And at first I thought they were just switching their backing bank. But later it seems like they might have been bought out by Wells-Fargo based on locations and stuff. The problem there, First National, even now, still supports firearms online sales. Wells-Fargo does not. They're one of the companies that, nope, you can't use this to sell guns online. Yeah, even if, they all go to FFLs, for anyone who doesn't know, you can't just buy a gun online and have it shipped to your door. That's not how that works. You buy a gun online, it ships to your dealer, he does the full Monty background check, just as anything else. So there's no getting around. It's not a loophole at all. But some of these places, they just won't do it. So they said, but don't worry, we're going to switch you over to kind of our sister company or subsidiary. Still technically the same company, but in a different location across the country. And that subsidiary, which had once been an independent company, but now is under this umbrella, still uses First National Bank, so they can process your credit cards. I appreciated their forethought and taking care of me. Now, I'm not going to say this company's name. I'm trying to be respectful. But I will say the bank's names because fuck Wells Fargo. Just throwing that out there. And so they asked a few things. They wanted a current copy of my FFL, my tax ID. Sure, they've got all that. They've got all my financial records. And I needed to fill out a new user agreement, a new form, I did that online, did the little e-sign, got clarification, got a letter from the agent saying, look, it's signed for, we're good. And I waited, and didn't hear anything from them. The credit cards continued to run through August, no problem. They were running fine on September 1st, at the beginning of the month, no problem. And I went to run a card manually, which is something I don't do too frequently nowadays. Most of them get run automatically through Gunbroker when the buyer inputs their card data themselves. But when I went to run a guy's card on the 3rd of September, it was declined. But it was for a large amount. So I tell him, look, is this issued through your bank? Let's try another. So I tried 2 more cards of his, and at that point I said, look, I think something's wrong on my end. It was just giving me the generic decline message, so it wasn't even telling me. And I hadn't received any information, any letters. And I remember the changeover, even though I had all the stuff saying I'd completed the forms, I was getting suspicious. And of course, this was the Friday before Labor Day weekend. And Jay had just come over to do the videos on the main Mishaco channel, so I didn't have time to really deal with it on Friday. Of course, Saturday, Sunday was the weekend. So first thing I call the authorized net, which is the interface, and they say, look, the problem is with your merchant provider. Everything is fine here, but it, some of the keys and stuff are out of date. So I called the provider, my original one, and they said, look, we were handing them over to this other company, and they said, quote, 99% of the cases were handed over without any problems and with little to no disruption in service, but 1% there's been a snafu. And the guy, and this is from the original branch, was very polite and had a good laugh and everything. And he said, look, I'll put an urgent note on it for them to look at it. And I said, how soon do you think they'll have it done? He said, well, I hate to give deadlines, I hate to tell, but he said, I figure 24 hours, maybe Monday at the latest. And I said, yeah, sure, as long as it's up and running by Tuesday morning, no harm, no foul. Well, I go through Sunday and onto Monday, and I understand it's a holiday weekend, so I'm not really pressured, but I thought I'm going to call the new company, the new branch, that evening. And this is when things start to really go south. The moment I get on the phone, very polite, very friendly, absolutely didn't know her head from her hat. Couldn't even figure out who I was, didn't understand that I'd been a customer for 10 years with this other company. She finally found my account, but there was no notes on it, no anything. She was completely bewildered. She didn't know what was going on. And she, too, put an urgent request to look at my case and see what the hell. So at this point, I've been without service since September, well, as it turns out, September 2nd, but I noticed it on the 3rd. Tuesday rolls around, and I get an email and a phone call that morning from another person at the new branch, basically saying, oh, I heard you'd like to, sign up and have new service. And I said, no, I've been a client with your company. I know not your branch, but your company for over 10 years. I looked at the logs, and the first credit card I ran with them was on 8/25/10. So literally just over 10 years. And he was confused. He didn't see any work orders. He didn't see anything. He couldn't find my account, blah, 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 blah. He didn't know what was up. And we did play a little bit of phone tag Tuesday because the Tuesday following a holiday weekend, plus all the credit card stuff not working, I was busy. Finally, Wednesday, I forwarded him over all my original emails and receipts. And then he was very confused. He said, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to look into this. Because I showed him, because I kept trying to tell these people, I've sent all my information, my FFL, and they kept saying, well, you need to fill out this form online and send over your FFL, and I kept saying, look, I've done this. I've done this. And here, I finally showed him the emails for the correspondence with the original person from back in August, and the receipt from signing it online, and he finally kind of agreed with it. He saw what I had agreed, it was all done. And I said, and if you notice, I told him this, the last thing I wrote in my final email was, if you have any questions, if you need any further information at all, please call or email me anytime. And they had all my info. Never heard back. So this is Wednesday now, rolling up on a whole week without service, and he doesn't even know what's going on. Finally, Thursday, I call him, and he says, well, what they're telling me is your account was canceled. Okay, why? He said, it looks like it timed out. Okay, what does that mean? So he was checking, and he goes, they say that they did not have sufficient information. Okay. What information do they want? They have my FFL, my tax ID, I filled out the online forms. You literally have all my financial records for the past decade. What more information could they have possibly needed? And he said, I don't know. I don't understand this either. Then I said, if they needed anything, why did they not reach out by email or phone like they had done in August? And why is my account just all kinds of screwed up? So he said, I'll check. So Friday rolls around. He finally gets back with me and he goes, the information they needed was your website address. What the fuck? Not only did they cancel my service and take a week to even figure out why they had done it, they never reached out. They never called. They never wrote. All for a silly little piece of info. Instead, they basically found some excuse to not proceed with my account and just let it time out without telling me. I didn't even get the courtesy of an automated, your service will be terminated or your service has been terminated email. I am not best pleased. And I told the guy, I said, look, this is ludicrous. I've been a loyal customer. You've made how much money off of me over the last 10 years for basically no hassle, no trouble at all. I do an honorable business. And all they had to have done was just call or write. And I said, look, I've already started looking at other options. Because originally I was perfectly happy just to get it fixed, but after this runaround, I'm thinking, yeah, if they're this hard to deal with now, I'm reading between the lines. They don't want to serve. I don't know if it's because I'm a gun shop or I'm an online, or maybe they just don't like my birthday. I don't know why, but I'm reading. And his response was pretty straightforward. He goes, yeah, I kind of figured. I said, look, this is nothing against you. I said, he's not his doing. I'm not going to take it out on him. And I never, I'm not saying I never lose my temper. I definitely do. But not in these situations to people like that who did nothing. So I just was straight with him and told him, look, I'm just going to go with someone else. Backtracking a wee bit, come Tuesday, the previous Tuesday, right after all this happened, I was telling the owner of JDI, Santa Imports, this, and he goes, if you need any help with the credit card processor, I can give you my guy's info. And I said, sure. And so he emailed it over, and I contacted his guy that same night, Tuesday night, and then another friend who runs a gun shop, he's a manufacturer, said, well, I've been with this company, and I'm happy with them. And then his guy called me that Wednesday morning. So already by Wednesday afternoon, I've got two companies, frankly, just vying for my business. I looked at both their forms, filled out both their applications, and was kind of pre-approved for both of them. And that kind of left me with a different debate, who to go with. Because someone's going to win, someone's not. Someone's going to get my bid, and it's bad because both of them were equally viable. One of them had a little cheaper rates, the other one had a little better monthly fees. Both sales guys were, sales guys, but perfectly. And they both had the applications and everything to me quickly and had me approved. No fuss, no muss. So then I started feeling bad over this weekend having to tell one no, and I told him that. I said, I was trying to, again, be honest with him, saying, I told both of them, look, there's one other company that I've narrowed it down to. And so one of them's going to get it, one of them's not. I said, it might even come down to a flip of a coin, and it damn near did. In the end, I ended up going with the first guy from Tuesday evening because I did talk with him a couple hours previously. And because JDI has been using them for a few years and has a good track record. So I figured, why not? But both are good. So there is definitely more room for gun shops online. But on the other hand, again, another place I contacted Tuesday was my bank that I've been banking with literally since the 80s. And because a friend here in town that does... has a gun shop, they go through their bank. Basically what I was told to the bank, who of course they themselves don't do card processing, they forwarded me to their person, blah blah blah. And I was told that, no, they don't do guns. Basically. I mean, the guy said, I'd love to be part of your thing, you know, I like what you're doing, but we just don't do, you know, we can't take the risk of firearms. And I said, what risk? What is all this risk these businesses are purportedly worried about? I said, everything has risk. And he said, well, you know, like a bookshop, what risk do they have? And I said, okay, well, maybe. I said, then again, what if a bookshop sells a Harry Potter book to an 8-year-old, and then their mother marches in the next day saying that they sold them a book on witchcraft? And yeah, so yeah, that's, everything has risk. It may be slightly higher or lower, but everything does. The fact is, guns are highly regulated. You have to go through a very deep background check. You have to fill out a multi-page document. They get a copy of your driver's license. You have to be over 18 for rifle, 21 for handgun. 0 criminal record is allowed. Yeah. It's not the Wild West as some people in the world might think over here. It's really regulated. And online is almost even more so, because every gun goes from one dealer to another, so it goes through 2 different dealers who both check it to make sure it's not lost or stolen, and then goes the full background check. And actually the chances of it being purported as lost, you know, and therefore a chargeback because they never received product is pretty much 0, because all guns are tracked very thoroughly while they're in transit. We ship all of ours air just to be safe. Don't use ground. And of course you have the receiving dealer on the other end to confirm it's there. So you have a neutral third party to act as an intermediary. My point is, there's no risk. At least no more than anything else in this world. It's just another form of gun control. If the federal government can't be seen to do it via, you know, Second Amendment and all that, that's one thing. But it's something corporations can do. If corporations band together, banks band together to effectively stop online gun sales, then what's next? Who's going to, you know, then they won't process cards in store. People aren't going to pay cash for most firearms. It's too much, and people don't carry cash anymore. And most people today don't carry around a checkbook either. Credit cards, debit cards, what have you, are it. So if you make it very hard to buy again with a card, you've effectively stopped sales. And there's nothing they can say about it, because while the federal government is limited, corporations can pretty much do whatever the hell they want in this country today. Look at YouTube. A few years ago, there was all this stuff about the videos they were pulling. Not just gun channels, but gaming channels, video, film review channels. And people were crying out it was a violation of freedom of speech. And the response was, no, it's not, because a corporation, private entity like YouTube, isn't beholden to freedom of speech. You know, when I had a guide dog, which I had 2 of them, so I had for several years, I could go into any public place I wanted. I could even go into businesses based on businesses being, you know, businesses and how they're classified as kind of public place. But I couldn't go into private households, and oddly, one of the places that can turn away someone with a service animal and do it legally, churches. A church can actually refuse entry. That's right, a restaurant really can't. But a church can, and that gets into the whole private thing as well. A whole different level, but it just kind of mine and thought I'd share that. And that's really what you have to look for today. Because all of this happened, I lost over a week's worth of business because Wells-Fargo won't handle online firearms payments. It wasn't anything I did. It wasn't that I was sued or that I had too many chargebacks. It wasn't anything that happened on my end. No one even ever claimed such a thing. It was literally because they changed banks, and this bank didn't like what I was doing for a living. Well, I'm so fucking sorry. You want to offer me a job, Wells Fargo? Give me a salary? Give me some good benefits? No? Well, then fuck off. This is my living. To be honest, it wasn't the job I planned on doing 20 years ago. But it's the hand that life dealt me. And I'm making the best out of it. And to be judged like that, to be cut off like that, is not only insulting, it is discrimination. I don't use that often, but this is one of those cases. I mean, how else do they expect people with major disabilities to work? Of course, we're going to mostly work from home. Now, if you're in a big city or there's public transport, there's more options. But if you have the misfortune to be born into a rural area, or heck, even a place like LA where public transport sucks, you end up almost always working from home, or maybe if you're super lucky, finding a job a few blocks from home. That's just what it is. Because there's a lot of jobs people that are blind or deaf or have wheelchairs physically can't do. And that's just life, you know? And I've worked really hard over the last 11 years to establish my business, to earn a reputation, and to be judged like that and just pushed aside. And that's something too, with government stuff, I can usually find a way to make allowances for disabilities. Like, for example, getting my business license where we live here. I had to go up the chain a bit, get to the city attorney, but he looked at it and said, look, the letter of the law doesn't allow it, but the spirit of the law, he said, we're not here to keep people from working. So he gave me a waiver to work. But if that had been a bank, a corporation, it would have been your shit out of luck, sorry. Because it just seems like with companies, the rules are inviolate. With government, at least on some levels, you can finally, even if it takes a few weeks of working your way up the ladder, get to someone to talk with. But I have yet to find a way to make a bank change their policies. And I will say this for customers. Most everyone I explain the situation to, and obviously not drawn out like this, but a summarized version, and they either waited for the credit card processor to come back, or they just mailed in payments. In fact, I only had one person who canceled their order, and it was actually that first guy, the original guy, which, I'll be honest, did hurt, because it was a big order. And I would understand if he just said, look, I just, but his attitude seemed to be that this was somehow my fault. And that did rub me the wrong way. And honestly, after seeing that side of him and being blamed for something, he basically accused me of dishonesty and being a scam. I don't know how me having this happen makes me dishonest or having a scam, but yeah. If he just said, look, I think I'll just retract my order. I was hoping to have it. That'd be cool. I've been disappointed. I'd try to talk him out of it, but I would have said, okay, well, no, there it is. But to be, have that put on top of it was just putting salt in an already fresh wound. And it really did get me pissed at him. Kind of made me happy not to ship him a gun because, I don't know, people like that, they always find reasons to complain. But yeah, everyone else has been great. And the new credit card company, we got all the paperwork finalized Friday and started working midday yesterday. Well, I'll say, I don't know when I upload this, midday Monday. So not bad. It took about 24 hours on their end. And took me a bit to get all the security settings and whatnot. That's just it. But anyway, by Tuesday, I was starting to process cards again. And that's really what I should have done. I shouldn't have even worried about trying to make things work with the old company. I should have just started looking for a new company that Friday. I would have probably been up and running by Tuesday, Wednesday. But live and learn, Plus, I was just utterly confused what was going on. And that wasn't the only thing that went wrong. Not by a long shot. We had to replace our washing machine, went to Lowe's, bought a new one, they installed it, and then literally the next day our stove and oven quit working. And not only were we worried they weren't working, we actually thought it might be an electrical issue. The electrician actually came yesterday and took care of that, so that did get wrapped up. And our homeowner's insurance decided to drop us. Again, nothing we really did, but they had made a clerical error thinking our house was a different size than what it was. And therefore, they reevaluated what they were charging us and everything. And instead of just saying, well, we're going to have to raise your rates, they're just like, hey, yeah, good luck, goodbye. With about 2 weeks' notice. So that was fun. Just... It got to one point when I was really just stressed out. But then stuff kept happening, little and big. I just almost started laughing. It's just like, oh, how much else can you do? What else? You know, it's one of those months. Oh, well. Oh, my wife had a COVID scare. That's the other thing that happened in the middle of all this. One of her employees just couldn't resist that value trip to Florida last month. And, of course, he came back with the COVID and then tested positive. So, of course, everyone, including her, had to go in and be tested and quarantined before the results came back. It wouldn't have annoyed me if he just had it through random means. But to go to Florida, to go on vacation right now, is really stupid. And why? Well, because he got sick. Right there. He's okay? Yeah, but how many people would he have made sick? You know, if nothing else, it cost my wife a couple of days at work while getting tested. That's just it. There are secondary and tertiary effects to this stuff, even if you don't get sick. And what if, instead of being blind, I had some kind of immunodeficiency disorder? You know, what if she was sick and I got sick? To me, it gets around. If people do their precautions and they still get sick, well, them's the cards. But when they're just being stupid about it, it is annoying. And it meant that she was kind of out of pocket for a couple of days in the middle of all this going on that really wasn't the best timing for all this. But this week has, so far at least, gone a lot better. And I don't know. Like I said, those aren't the only things that happened. There's plenty of other stuff. But the banking thing, the card thing, is really what I wanted to share, because that is very concerning to me, and it should be concerning to anyone, because if they can do it to gun shops, who else can they do it to? I know the credit card guy said they were dropping like vape stores and smoke shop stuff, which I'm not a smoker, but there you go. That's one. I mean, what would be next? Liquor stores? What about certain movie theaters that showed film? I mean, once you start making those divisions, deciding what's morally right and wrong, where does it end? If the government shouldn't be mandating our morality, business, banking, corporations sure as hell should not be. It's my opinion, but I'm right. And you know I am. And I'm sure most of you agree with me. And if you don't, fuck off. I don't want corporate overlords. At the same time, I'm not going to take it out on regular salespeople like that guy, because it wasn't his fault. So yeah, that was what was going on with me the last wee bit. But as the second half of September rolls in, as we finally end summer and move into what's supposedly fall, hopefully things get better. Oh, even the weather was crap last week. It was supposed to be very nice. The forecast was for a high around 68 that week. And literally the day before, it was supposed to drop down. They changed the high from 68 to like 88. So instead of enjoying a nice early fall week, we all got roasted more. Because here, when it's 88, it's very humid, very sticky, very not nice. And thus concludes my black box for today. Or rather tonight when I'm recording this. So, since I've been bitching about my week for a while, how about yours? Feel free to complain in the comments below, because why not? This is my therapy, because I don't go to a therapist. I can't afford one, and frankly, even if I could, I don't think I'd want to, because why? I am an adult, so I will deal. I've been dealing with issues my entire life, so why stop now, right? Anywho, next video will be back to something model or gun related. I appreciate you tuning in and letting me vent. As always, if you could, like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha. Catch you very soon next time.